Recording? Yes. Hello and welcome to The Bar is Loaded. My name is Chris Howard. With me today I have Miss Sophie Begley. Today we will be discussing the equality in lifting. So obviously we're going to be discussing things like body image and things like that. So slight disclaimer then, if this is something that will trigger, then probably this isn't the episode for you. But it's out there and it needs to be discussed. So that's why we're doing this. So, Soph, how are you?
I'm good, yeah, not too bad. Surviving, doing the best I can.
Good. How are you? Obviously, cope with the lockdown thing. I think it's the question that always has to be asked right now.
Well, I live in a 30 square foot accommodation, so like a room essentially. So, I mean, I'm still getting some exercise.
Same boat, I think, really, for everyone that just struggling to exercise, exercising as much as we can. Going for walks is always good. But yeah.
Yeah, I know. I haven't quite taken up running yet, so I feel like I'm at an okay level still. The day I start running is when I'm going to really question my mental stability, so we'll see.
Yeah, to be fair, I questioned mine when I started walking. I was like, this isn't me, but it's quite, at least the weather's nice, so can't argue.
Powerlifters that walk, what's going on?
Oh, don't. Like, right now, Soph, I'm a mess. I'm walking, my hair doesn't know what it's doing, my beard doesn't know what it's doing. Oh, just don't. It's not a good time for me right now. But yeah, also I believe
I did the whole like dyeing my hair brown thing. So
I believe we have a congratulations in order. The new president of JMU Powerlifting.
Yeah. Whoop whoop.
Great news. Well deserved.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
So
no, go on.
No, go on.
I was going to say it's a big thing to take on my shoulders, but I'm really looking forward to it. Coming out of Corona will be interesting. Trying to take over.
Yeah, I can see those first few sessions are going to be interesting. Obviously, the varsity, that's going to be another interesting thing, how that comes about. But no, I think if anyone can handle it, Sophie, you've got this.
Thank you.
It's going to be good to see the sessions actually have a plan and not just Mark running around like a headless chicken.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, Mark, I love you, really.
I was going to say, don't say anything too bad about him.
I won't. I couldn't. Other than skitting him for sumo, and that's probably about all I can do.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
So obviously, the main reason we're here today is we're talking about equality in lifting. I think obviously it's a subject that comes up and down quite a lot, and I think it's one that people tend to tiptoe around. But I think it's a very important subject and something I think that we should cover. So yeah, I mean, I think probably the best place to start is, and obviously asking you this, Sophie, is do you think there's any common barriers that women face when they start looking at weight training?
I mean, I think that's such a huge, discussion, and it is a massive thing, and I will say, like, first off, not speaking to anyone else but myself, these are my own experiences. Like, it differs from woman to woman, and it differs, what type of body type you've got, or what you look like and things like that. And I'm very lucky that I'm in a very socially acceptable body type, shall we say. So I probably haven't faced as much as what other women might have done. I think the biggest thing for me was finding a good gym and a good coach. So my strength journey started in like 2016, 2017, just going to a commercial gym, and I did cardio, and that was basically all I did because I didn't know what else to do. And I was terrified to ask anyone because, you've got these big burly men like grunting and making all these noises, and it's intimidating. It is like, it's terrifying sometimes. So I just went on the cross trainer, and that was it. And I think it got to about 6 months in, and I was like, this is so boring. Like, oh my God, I can't do this any longer. So I got a PT, and that was kind of where I started lifting weights. And honestly, this PT did not know what he was talking about in any way, shape or form. He was a bodybuilder, but like didn't really train women. And he just, some of the things he taught me how to do, like took a good year to untrain me to do, as Danny Taylor would probably attest to. And then I luckily had a boyfriend at the time who was really into like lifting weights and things like that, and he was actually put me on to powerlifting.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, you know, you're really naturally strong, you should go and do this, go try. And I kind of fell into Taylor's, and it's probably the best thing I've ever done and the scariest thing I've ever done as well.
Yeah.
But I was so lucky to fall into that, and I know that's not the same for everyone. You know, finding a good coach and finding a gym that's accepting of a female lifter is hard to come by. And you know, and don't get me wrong, Taylor's an amazing place and everyone is lovely, but you know, you do still sometimes get people in there that, you know, will make the odd comment or, you know, say something to you, and you know, you take it on the chin as a woman, and it is mostly aimed at women. So, you know, it is difficult, and I think finding a good coach is probably one of the biggest barriers that you find. There's not many female coaches. You know, we're very lucky that we have Lauren and Michelle in the gym, who are amazing. But they're very, very hard to come by, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you say, with like commercial gyms, I think finding a good coach, or well, obviously they'll class themselves as PTs. It's very hard to come by a commercial gym. You know, we're in a world now where you can go online. Don't get me wrong, we've all done it, but gone online and can get a qualification. That doesn't necessarily prep you for everything else. I think there has to be a degree of experience, and especially if it comes to something like lifting, a lot of the PTs will only know what they've read. They won't know it from experience. So I think as a woman to come in and try and find, like you say, like a good coach that is going to help them progress, it's quite hard in a commercial gym. So, you know, it's, like you say, the route that you took is a great route to take. And like, you know, look at your lifting now, it's fucking way up there. So.
Yeah, and you know, I think if I hadn't have found Taylor's, I probably would never have fallen into powerlifting, and I am so thankful that I did, because you know, it changed my life. It really, really did, and it changed my views as a woman as well, which you know is amazing. But I think there is a lot of women out there who feel like, you know, it's intimidating, and it is intimidating to walk into a gym, into any gym as a woman. You know, you don't know what you're going to be faced with, and you know, that is scary in itself. So, you know, probably the biggest barrier that I think as a woman you face every day is walking into a gym, because it's scary.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, do you think then, I guess that's a good question to take on from this, is do you think that a privately owned gym is probably better than a commercial gym for like females that are looking to start in, maybe not even just weightlifting, just looking at starting to train in general? Do you think that a privately owned gym is better than a commercial gym in that sense?
On the basis of Taylor's, 100%.
Yeah.
On the basis of other private gyms that I know about and people that I know that go there, not always.
Okay.
Like, sadly, you know, there are still privately owned gyms that are owned by big burly men who don't care about women.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. But, you know, I think on the overall, you probably are better going to a private gym, just because, you know, commercial gyms, you're getting crappy quality weights, you're getting weight rooms that are just male dominated. You know, female only weight rooms have more or less been abolished across the country now. I can't remember the last time I saw one. So, you know, that safe space for women to train in just isn't in a commercial gym anymore. It just really isn't. You know, I've been in many commercial gyms and been approached by men and felt really uncomfortable, to the point of like leaving the gym because I didn't feel comfortable or protected in any way. And, you know, you don't get that in private gyms, as far as I think, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, you know, I still train in a commercial gym as much as I train in Taylor's. And like you say, you tend to notice a lot more that male presence of, oh, you know, you need to lift like this, or, oh, you know, you need to do this exercise. I think the male input in a commercial gym is probably a lot worse than it is in a private gym, maybe. But then, again, that's just what I've noticed. That's what my experience. I guess there's probably people out there that have experienced completely different, but certainly from like a male perspective, like I see that a lot more in a commercial gym than I have seen in private gyms. But like you say, I think that again, it's just a testament to Taylor's. Like Taylor's is just a special gym in that sense that every lad in there respects women. So it's pretty lucky in that sense.
Yeah. Oh God, I 100% agree. I mean, I've had male friends, males that I've lifted with, trained with, things like that, who have said to me, like, what's a good way to approach a woman in the gym? Like if I think she needs a spot, or if I think she needs help, or, if I think her form's wrong. And like my biggest advice is just don't approach them. A woman in a gym is not there for you to come and correct her in any way, shape or form. That's not your job. It just isn't. And you have no right to come over to a woman when she's in the gym. Like if she's in booty shorts and a crop top, or she's in a full tracksuit, or, going up to her, it's not your job to do that. So don't do it. There's no non-creepy way to approach a woman in a gym. There just isn't. And,
Exactly.
there might be men out there that think, oh, well, I've approached a woman in the gym and I wasn't creepy. I can tell you now, you were. That woman thought you were creepy. She might have been polite and too nice to say, but she thought you were creepy, and you probably went in the female group chat that she's got on her phone. Oh my God, this weirdo's just approached me. And that is probably the truth of it. Like, just don't do it. Like, we don't need your help. If I've been in a commercial gym before and been squatting something, and I've had like a guy come up to me and ask me, oh, do you need a spot? As I was squatting. Like, no, go away. You've just made this 10 times harder, and now I'm gonna have to start again, so thanks for that. Or I've had someone take a bar out of my hands while I've been benching, like not even a heavy weight, like, and they've just took out my hands and been like, oh, I thought you were struggling. If I'm struggling, you'll know. I will make enough noise for you to know.
That is shocking. I mean, like I've seen lads just do the most inappropriate things, but taking a bar out of your hand is just next level.
Oh yeah, and it's not just me that's had this story, but like I know multiple women where we'll sit and joke about it, and that's happened to multiple women. Like it's not an isolated case; it happens a lot. Or the best one, having pictures took of you.
Ooh.
I've had someone take pictures of me whilst I was squatting in a commercial gym.
Ooh.
That was fun.
Yeah,
and then when I asked to see his phone, he was like, oh, I wasn't taking pictures, reported him to the gym, and the gym already knew who I was talking about. So, truth be told, I never went back to that gym, but it's just what you put up with. And unfortunately, like, when you're in a position like that, you want to, I'm quite ballsy. I'm not someone, I'm 5'10", I'm quite a big girl, I'm very strong. I'm not someone that takes shit from people. I'm just not. I never have done, never will do. When you're in them positions though, like it's scary, and your automatic response as a female is to go, oh it's okay, and to play it off and be polite, because if you turn around and shout in this man's face and embarrass him in a gym full of big bros, is he going to wait for you outside and attack you? Is he going to drag you into a car? Is he going to punch you in the face? Like, you don't know. So your response is politeness, which, you kick yourself about later, but it's a matter of safety sometimes.
100%.
I think people don't have to think about. So.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, it's alarming when you say that the gym was aware of that happening and nothing's getting done about it. Like, does that show the state of the industry at the minute, that equality is just not there whatsoever?
Oh God, yeah.
And I guess that leads on to the next point, really, is like social media. So obviously social media is great for fitness as a platform, it's great for female fitness, but is the argument there that it's as negative as it is positive, do you think?
Oh, I think social media is a beast upon itself now, 100%, especially when you're talking about kind of, the fitness industry as a whole. It's very toxic on there, like, and especially for women. So I'll give you this point example. So very recent that happened. So I've got 2 accounts. I've got my own personal Instagram, and then I've got a lifting account. My lifting account I post regularly. and I, put PBs on there and things like that. And there's, not that much engagement and things like that. But I posted a picture today of me. I'm in the process of like losing a bit of weight and things like that. And my coach, Cara, at the moment, she's posted a picture of like my before and after and things like that. And I reposted it onto my Instagram, and I got about 15 messages in about 20 minutes, maybe. It's like, and they were nice messages, but they were pointing out specifically the way I looked, and which is great, but I'll post on my lifting account about my lifting, and there's like no engagement there, like, because it's this monster of you've got to look a certain way on social media, and you do, like, unfortunately that is the way the world is, and it's a sad world, but it is the way it is. It's and that social media breeds that, I think. It breeds that monster of you've got to look a certain way to be in the fitness industry, and you've got to do certain things, and it just all accumulates, and the pressure is just immense for anyone looking at things like that.
Yeah, and I guess like that was going to be another question, I guess, was like, do you think that all these sort of, I guess it's not to be out there, but the Gymshark generation, do you think that they are creating this image that, is putting more pressure on females rather than bringing them out of the shells more, do you think?
Oh God, yeah. Oh, 100%. I would hate to be a teenager growing up at the moment, because you're just bombarded constantly with having to look a certain way. And I know it was a little while ago, I had a little bit of a rant about this. So Gymshark released this like diversity campaign, which, it was amazing. They were really trying to do something, but they just missed the mark completely, like, in my opinion. They did have people with disabilities on show and things like that, and people of colour, and that's amazing. But all the women were and looked exactly the same, and it's like, you can't say you're diverse and you're inclusive and all this, and then have a one size fits all look for your Instagram models. Like, that's not how that works. Like, my body type is not represented in that in any way, shape or form, and it's hard to live with, but you have to find coping ways to live with things like that, which is difficult now when it's thrown in your face constantly.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect point, that, like you say, like all this again, like that Gymshark generation, it is all one body type, and it's like, for a male looking in, it's like you say, it isn't diverse enough. You only see that one stick thin model. You don't see every body shape. And I think, like you say, for a company like that are so poignant, like, in the industry, and have such a grab on the whole thing, that you'd have thought that they'd use that power to, like you say, express that diversity. And it's something that they completely miss, I think, like you say.
Yeah, fully. And I think the juxtaposition between, like, so Gymshark's like social media, and all these gorgeous Instagram models that are like dead fit, wearing their clothes and all that, and then so you walk into a gym like Taylor's, which is a real gym, where people are actually going to work out and be strong, and you look at all the different body types in that gym, and they're not. I think there's maybe 2 people in Taylor's that might just fit into the Gymshark's ideal body shape, like, and because there's real people in that gym. Like, Gymshark's ad campaigns, they're not real people. They're people that are photoshopped and, put into these categories of they've got to look a certain way to make their money. And, that's their job, which, fair enough, they make money from this, great. But, it's not real people. It's not real life. People don't look like that. Like, and I think when you're looking at social media all day, every day, which I am very guilty of, I do look at a lot of social media a lot of the time, you start believing that everyone looks like that. And in actuality, there might be 1% of the population that look like that. And it messes with your mind completely, especially as a woman. There's so much pressure to look a certain way. when you actually step back and look at, like, you know, your friends, your family, the people around you, you know, they don't look like these people on Instagram, and there's a reason for that. Like, because your friends and family are real people who, you know, like a beer and like burgers and like going out for drinks, and, you know, don't eat just lettuce every day all day, like, and train 6 million times a day, like. And you know what, if you can keep that body shape up and you can look like that, props to you, because I do not have the time, energy, or resources to ever look like that. And that's fine. I've fully accepted that now. Took a long time, but I have. But
like you say, I think that's the thing, that, you know, real people with real 9-to-5 jobs that don't, like you say, make a living off Instagram and YouTube and all the rest, and don't make money off that image. I think, like you say, that's 99% of the population. So I think you gearing that 1%, it's just not beneficial to the industry whatsoever. Like, yeah, it might sell a bunch of clothes and it might boost people's accounts to however many followers, but it doesn't represent the real world. And I think that's probably leads me on to the next thing is, do you think that that body image thing now, like, do you think that that sort of shapes how a female would weight train nowadays?
Yeah, I think, like, a lot of females are constantly striving for this, you know, body perfection and things like that. And, you know, a couple of years ago, like the 90s and that, you know, cardio was pushed as like the way to get this ideal body. You know, you've got to run, you've got to go on the cross trainer, you've got to, you know, you've got to do loads of cardio and eat no carbs and things like that. And slowly it's changed into like, okay, actually weight training is the best way to lose weight. So, you know, there's a lot more people weight training now. And I think it does push the narrative of you've still got to look this way to do weight training, and that's just not the case at all. You know, I think very lucky in the sport that I do, you know, like powerlifting, because it isn't about the body image. You know, the strongest people I know wouldn't be in a Gymshark campaign, and, you know, even I wouldn't be in a Gymshark campaign. Like, I haven't got a perfect body in any way, shape, or form, you know. But the most impressive people that I know, the strongest people I know, you know, don't have these perfect bodies, whatever that's supposed to mean. But I mean, you know, social media has a lot to play in that as well, and I think the body image idea has changed over time, and hopefully it will continue to change. And, you know, being stick thin and being extremely underweight, you know, won't be the way people want to look. You know, now it's all about having a fat ass. It's what everyone wants. And everyone's like, got to do loads of squats. All these girls like squatting 100 times a day. Jesus Christ. If I squatted 100 times a day, I don't think I'd be able to walk ever again.
No, definitely not.
And that's what I train, but oh God.
And I think, like you say, I suppose that is maybe the one positive that you can get from the current like generation, is at least, like you say, it is more geared towards weight training now. So I guess in a sense that it's great to see people actually like looking at compound lifts now and thinking, you know, that's what I need to do. Granted, it's probably for the wrong reason, like you say, it's to get a bigger arse or whatever. But at least it's putting them down that route, which I think in a way is a positive you probably can take from the current generation. But like you say, more often than not, it's for the wrong reasons, not for the right reasons.
Yeah. And, you know, it's sad. It is like, you know, you see these young girls coming up and, you know, they're so obsessed with the way that they look. And like, I was like that, you know, don't get me wrong, I still have major body hang-ups. Like, there's still things that I hate about my body, and, you know, learning to love them is incredibly difficult. You see these young girls and like, they're so obsessed with looking a certain way, and, you know, they've got to be like all these Instagram baddies on that look amazing, and like, oh, it's heartbreaking. You know, I'd much rather, you know, put a barbell in all these young girls' hands and be like, no, come on, let's train for yourself. You know, train to be strong and powerful, and because that's what you should want to be. You shouldn't want to be skinny. Like, that's not that's not an attainable goal. Like, train to be strong and train to, you know, be able to, like, defend yourself, or, you know, or to be in a better physical, mental position. Like, you know, your mental health is so linked to your physical health. So train for them reasons. Don't train for your aesthetic, because at the end of the day, you're always going to want something more. You know, you're going to want to be skinnier. You know, you want your bum to be bigger. Even when you think you've reached that, you know, perfect body, it's never going to be enough. And it just isn't, until you start training for a different reason. And that took me years to figure out. And I still have moments of, oh, but I've got to be skinny. And, you know, you kind of have to give yourself a talking to and be like, no, come on. But, you know, I think powerlifting is a massive help in that, because you're not looking at the aesthetics of it. You're looking at the weights on the bar. That's your goal. You want to be stronger because you want to lift more weight, not to, like, fit into a size 6 dress. So that helps massively, I think. And I think if you could instill that into girls younger, you know, you'd have much happier young girls, because they wouldn't be looking at a weight on a scale. They'd be looking at a weight on a bar.
Yeah.
And that's so much more fun.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think, you know, this being obsessed with body image, I think is dangerous in a way as well, because, like you say, it's changed from the early 2000s to now. You know, like you say, it's gone from cardio to weight training. What's to say in another 5 years, however long, that the perfect body image is going to change again? And these girls that have got it instilled that I've got to be with the current body image, it's just going to keep going down that track of something that just isn't attainable, like you said. Whereas you go down the weight training route, you know, you look at powerlifting, strong woman, whatever, you know, there's that. It's the weight on the bar. And let's face it, what's better than going up to a bar that a lad's just been on it and putting more on him? You know, that for me, when I see that in a commercial gym, it's just fucking hilarious. You see some little weeb with his, like, fucking shit deadlift form, and then you all of a sudden, like, see someone that knows what they're doing go over, and she just embarrasses him. And he's just like, that's fucking great. That's what it should be. You know, it shouldn't be, I've got a bigger arse than you. It should be, I can lift more than the fucking boy, and that's great.
Oh, yeah. When they say, oh, do you want me to strip the bar for you? And you're like, no, I'm going to add weight to it. And the faces, oh, best feeling in the world. Like, you can't compare it to anything. It's amazing.
So I know one of the points that you wanted to bring up was about social acceptance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That leads on to quite the same, but, you know, certainly lead on to it nicely, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the social acceptance in terms of, you know, is it socially acceptable now for women to lift heavy weights? Like, I think this is a massive conversation that's happening constantly in strength sports. You know, if you look at some of the strongest women, like, you know, Steffi Cohen, you know, Donna Moore, people like that, you know, Dana Lynn Bailey, like, these are incredibly strong women. And then you look at the hate that they receive, you know, the negative comments, the putting them on blast, things like that. Like, it just isn't as socially acceptable as people want to believe that it is.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a lot of probably men in the industry as well who think, oh yeah, we're all the same now, and it just, that isn't the case in any way, shape or form. I think we've still got a long way to go in terms of societal acceptance of strong women.
Yeah.
You know, the age-old, when I tell people that I do powerlifting, or I've done strong women and things like that, and oh, I love it, it's great, the number one question I get asked is, oh, do you take steroids? Like, why do I have to take steroids to enjoy doing these sports? Like, I don't, like, would you ask a man that? Probably not. If you saw a strong man, would you automatically assume that he was on steroids? No, you just wouldn't. You see a strong woman who's maybe a bit muscular, you know, looks a little bit more built, oh, she takes steroids. That's the only reason she looks like that. You know, that's the only reason she can lift them weights. Not because it's hard work and dedication. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know there are women in the industry who do take steroids, and that, you know, that's their prerogative. I've got no issue with it. But, like, don't put us all in a box. It's not fair. It's not okay. You know, even these progressive people who think that, you know, they're dead progressive and dead inclusive of women, and, you know, oh yeah, you know, society thinks it's great now that women lift weights. Like, is it though? Is it though? Because if I walk into a commercial gym and walk into their weights room, every single guy in there is going to turn around and stare at me. So is that society accepting the fact that I lift weights? No, not in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
So
I think so with that as well. Do you think so? For me, being in like the strong man, strong woman world, I think for us, speaking as a whole, I think we are verging on that equality maybe quicker than certainly in other sports. I don't know about powerlifting. We'll get onto that in a minute. But I think strong woman certainly is getting it, like the equality is getting there a lot quicker than it. And I think that is probably down to the fact that a lot of the women are fucking a lot stronger than any of the men. And that's such a testament to the sport, such a testament to those as athletes. Like, you know, you've got Rhiannon Lovelace, who is being involved in the feats of strength that's coming up on World's Ultimate Strongman. You know, Donna Moore that you mentioned before, and you know, it's so important to see that in the minute. I think if more females would pay attention to strength sports, they'd feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more empowered when they go into a gym, I think. And obviously,
yeah.
you know, I think the one thing they do still lack is the coverage. I think, you know, as we're saying, right, Rhiannon's getting the coverage for her stone lift, but, you know, World's Strongest Woman is still something that is so far behind the men's. You know, granted, within the sport, we see, you know, athlete equality's there, but certainly in the money that they get compared to the men, it's nowhere near.
Yeah.
And especially the coverage as well. You know, powerlifting, obviously that'd be your forte. You know, you've got Danielle Mello, I want to say.
Yeah.
So what's the coverage like in the powerlifting world for female lifting?
All right. So as a whole, powerlifting is, in my opinion, very, very boring to watch. I love this sport. It's ingrained in me. It's in my blood. It's so boring to watch, though. I would never sit down and watch it on TV. Like, it's not as exciting as a man pulling a truck. Like, it just isn't. It's not got the same vibes. But I mean, so we don't really get televised. It's not really a thing. But I mean, in terms of powerlifting and coverage for women, yeah, it's getting there, I suppose. It depends what you're talking about, though, like, and what federation, and, you know, everyone's different, and there's different coverages for different people. I mean, the UK, trying to find, so I tried to Google powerlifting UK women before coming on tonight, and nothing comes up. Like, nothing. Maybe the IPF lists of like the strongest women, that's about it. Like, it's near on impossible. And I've had people say it to me like, oh, who do you follow on like Instagram and things like that, or, you know, who can I look up to? And it is hard to find. Like, you know, the men are out there, you know, but trying to find women powerlifters to like really look up to is difficult. I mean, Emma James, who is the creator of the ABPU and BPU, she is probably one of my biggest inspirations. I think she is insane. She is so cool. She basically just didn't like the IPF, so she was like, sod it, I'm going to go make the ABPU. This is what I have heard anyway. And now she owns it, like runs it. She does everything. It's the federation that I lift in. Her as a woman, she's amazing. But like, trying to find anything about her, trying to find coverage of it just isn't there. It really isn't. America probably does a much better job than the UK does in terms of powerlifters. So you've got people like Maddie Forberg, who is really, really strong. And she's been on like YouTube series and things like that. There's a lot of stuff you can find about her. And Steffi Cohen as well. You know, there's masses and masses of stuff about Steffi Cohen. I do think the UK might be a little bit further behind than America. I mean, America is a lot bigger than us, so, you know, that's to be expected. But, I mean, it's hard to say because there is so little coverage of UK, especially female powerlifters, in my opinion. I mean, you know, I might be wrong. There might be people out there screaming now, listening to this, like, hey, what about this person? Sorry, I just don't know about them. But, yeah, I think America's does it right, I think, in terms of their kind of the way that they look at the powerlifters and strength sports. you know, they have like the CrossFit Games, which is huge over there as well. So there's a lot of famous people that come from that. But I don't know. It's a difficult one. It really, really is, because, you know, you're only funnel fed things. You have to really go looking for it.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, like, you think about like male strength sports, so like male strongman, you know, everyone knows who Eddie Hall is. Everyone knows who like Four is. Like, everyone knows these names. But if you ask someone, okay, well, name 3 strong women, or name 3 female powerlifters, could they?
Yeah.
Probably not. Which is sad, because, you know, as you said, women are outlifting men now. So why aren't we as recognised as the men are?
Yeah, and that's such a shame. Like you say, it seems if you're involved in the sport, like you say, like, you know, we can name, you know, plenty of female strong women, plenty of female powerlifters, but like you say, do people outside of that know that? You know, could I go to a random person in the street and be like, do you know who Donna Moore is? And they'll be like, you know, such a sad thing to, you know.
But if you said, do you know who Eddie Hall is? The chances of them knowing who he is very, very high.
Exactly.
You know, and I mean, I think that is a lot to do with sponsorships and being televised, and, you know, as you said, like, strong woman is like probably a lot more forward in terms of, you know, their coverage. But, you know, we still don't have strong women on TV, which is a damn shame, because then women are doing some massive things and it's really damn impressive. So why aren't they on the TV?
Yeah.
Sexism. But that's a whole different debate.
Exactly. That'd make this.
I'll probably get penalised for. Actually, be talking to me about it, because I'm very, very into it. So
I said this to Danny. I was like, this is a podcast that I feel very tiptoey around as it is, because just as a male trying to obviously talk about like fight sexism and female empowerment, I'm like, someone's going to trip me up on somewhere. But
oh yeah, don't, like, honestly, the thing is, men are our allies. It's the way you've got to think about it. You know, unfortunately, it is a man's world, and it still is. And I will debate to the death with anyone about the fact that it isn't, because it is. We are still massively oppressed as women. You know, sexism is still alive and kicking massively, not just in strength sports, across the entire world, country, everywhere. But you have to have these conversations with men, and you have to open up that dialogue, and men have to feel comfortable talking about it, because, you know, if I say to a man, that's sexist, that's not okay, you can't speak to me like that, 9 times out of 10, that man will laugh at me. Now, if another man said that to another man, that man who's sexist is probably going to listen to that man, unfortunately. But it's the way it works. So, you know, and don't worry about talking about it, because 9 times out of 10 people won't agree with the way I talk about it. I'm very passionate about it. And people are like, oh, calm down, sit down, it's fine. No, I'm going to fight about it.
No,
it's
like,
just the way.
It's certainly something for me that I feel like strongly about, that, you know, I'm completely on the side of females. Like, it's just such, like you say, it's just such a man's world, and it shouldn't be, because a lot of the time women are just fucking far stronger than men. And
oh yeah,
that's a fact that lads will be scared to admit, but you fucking are. So
yeah, the strongest people I know are women.
Yeah.
The stuff that some of, like, my friends, the stuff I've been through personally, like, men would not be able to cope with. And this is just honestly from speaking to male friends. Like, I've told them stuff I've been through, and they've been like, what, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Because it's how we deal with things as women, because we are just that strong that we just don't make a big deal about stuff. So, you know,
I mean, let's face it, the pound for pound strongest person in the gym is Lauren, and there's no one that's going to debate that. No one is debating that.
Oh God, I know. I 100% love that as well, because I love telling people. Her and, like, Shayna, like, my God, Jesus Christ.
2 absolute powerhouses right there.
Yeah, idols, if there ever was one. Like, my
Exactly.
God. Shayna's like 3 years younger than me as well. And I'm like, this bitch is insane. But I'm so jealous.
No, just an absolute absolute next level lifter, Shayna, and Lauren as well within that sentence. You know, they're two women that, like you say, just such role models within the gym, but they should
Oh
be
yeah,
role models outside of that, because just
yeah.
look at the level they're at. You know, it's
Mm.
frightening.
They just completely dominate. It's
Completely.
insane. You know, I think it's why it's such a privilege for me to be, you know, the powerlifting captain this year for LJMU, because, you know, you've got me as the captain, and then our vice captain is Cara. So, you know, you've got two female strong committee members, like, you know, running this club. It's amazing. The female turnout this year for our club was the highest it's ever been. And, you know, I'm hoping to double it next year. Get some barbells in some women's hands, empower them. We're going to have a revolution.
No, that was such a great thing for me. Obviously, we had the meeting the other night, didn't we? And where we discussed this, and it's so good to see that now there is two females at the top of that, like you say, the top of that committee, and it's only going to bring more girls into that club and more girls into lifting, and I think that's such a great thing. And you know, having you at the head of that, it's great to see, and it's going to only be a success. So.
It's amazing, and it's an amazing opportunity, and you know, it's an amazing honour. I have been already told, though, let's go back to sexism here.
Let's go.
You've got a lot to prove, though, you know, being a female captain. You know, men might not want to join the club because you're the captain. All right, mate, just because my dick's bigger than yours, like, sorry about that. Like, don't know what you want from me. No, but honestly, like, I've already had that conversation with people, like, oh, but they might not want to join a lifting club if the female's a captain. Or why don't you just be the vice captain? No, don't think so. Sorry. So that was the first hurdle, but you know, it's a good job I didn't take no shit, isn't it? So
exactly. I mean, let's face it. So I've seen enough sessions to know that the lads are shit scared of you. So yeah. I can't imagine you're going to struggle. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, I am terrifying. Apparently,
You are.
I come off as a bit of a bitch, but I'm not. I swear, I'm not.
I mean, I'll be in the room doing my own session, and like I hear you shout at someone, I'm like, ah, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, like the being 5'10" covered in tattoos thing probably doesn't help my case, but you know, it's not my fault. Can't help it.
You can't. So another point that like I had down was, do you think, talking very stereotypically of the male and female form, do you think that there's any limitations in that? Like, so, like, is there anything that you think could, like, females couldn't do that males can do, and vice versa? Anything that males couldn't do compared to females? Obviously, a big thing that I know that fucking I can't do that most like females can is like flexibility. Like my flexibility is fucking non-existent. Whereas obviously, like, you know, the female form just allows you a lot more range of motion.
Yeah.
Obviously, anything that you'd want to add to that?
I think it's a difficult one. Obviously, physiologically, you know, men are bigger, they are stronger. Like, you kind of can't argue with that. Like, evolution, you know, it tells us, you know, they are bigger. You know, they were made to go out and hunt, and we were made for gathering. That's, you know, just the way it is, unfortunately. But I'd like to say no, that there isn't as many limitations anymore. I think probably the biggest one, and this is, you know, I'm going to put a trigger warning here, I'm going to start talking about periods. You know, we have this cycle once a month, and, you know, there isn't enough research into it. There's some, I've read the majority of it, into weight training and periods and, you know, your cycle and things like that. You know, I can come into the gym one day and be able to max out, or, you know, do 110 deadlift, fine, it'll fly, I'll be great. I can go into the gym the next week and can't even lift 60 kg without it feeling really, really shit. And it's hormones, and it's the way we work, and, you know, and that is a massive limitation, but you just kind of learn to train through it. You know, I know that I can have a really good day and the next day it'd be crap, and, you know, it's because I'm due on, or, you know, I've just came on my period, or, you know, whatever, and, you know, your hormones are all over the place and things like that, and it does affect the way you train, and you have to take it into consideration, especially in terms of like weight training. I remember my first powerlifting comp, now I don't tell anyone to do this. Don't ever do this. This was a really stupid idea that I had. I knew I was going to be on my period on my comp. And I was like, I can't, like, I know I don't lift as much when I'm on my period. I can't, like, oh God. So there's these tablets you can get from the doctor, which basically like stop your period. It like pushes it back. Can't remember what they're called, but and I took them. So stupid. Probably wouldn't have made any much of a difference. I wasn't lifting that heavy, but my very newbie brain was like, oh my God, I've got to do this. And I went and did the comp and it was great and everything, but it was something that in the future I probably would have to plan, figure out when the comp is, when I'm going to peak. If I peak in my training cycle and I'm on my cycle, it's not going to be as good. And I just know that. And you have to take it into consideration. And we are more emotional as well. Unfortunately, I have cried multiple times in Taylor's, multiple times. And I think that does impact training as well. We put our heart and soul into these things, especially as women, we do. So, when something isn't quite right, it does affect us a lot. The same, some men might feel the same way. But I do think it does affect us a lot differently. I think the limitations that we have in terms of men being stronger than us, as I said, look at Donna Moore, she's stronger than most men I know. So it's probably not there as much anymore. And, you talk about evolution and that we probably are moving away from men being stronger because we don't need to be anymore. So I can probably outlift most of the guys I know.
Agreed.
So maybe we're moving away from that. Hopefully evolution might be finally on our side.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's such a poignant point that you made is that I think periods and training is something that isn't spoken about enough. And I think certainly isn't coached around enough. I feel like most PTs wouldn't coach their female lifters or female clients. They won't take that into consideration, which is something that I think it's that balance between tiptoeing around it and just accepting that it's fact. Like you say, there's going to be days where you can't lift as much as a day that you can whilst you're on the cycle, but I think that's just that male perspective that we think, oh shit, we can't talk about periods.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably, it is the most natural thing in the world. Guys that are scared of it, just, God, I can't even talk to them. Come on, it's the most natural thing in the world. Your mum has them, pack it in. But you are right. There's not enough research into it at all, I don't think. It just isn't something that's researched. And, there is massive health implications, and also in terms of women autonomy and that, there's a lot of women I know that deadlift and pee, and that it's just part of us. It just happens. You got to think how much pressure you're putting on your body. Of course you're going to push some pee out. Of course you are. Come on now.
I know lads that have deadlifted and shit themselves, so don't worry about it. If you peed while she's deadlifted, don't worry about it. Lads have shit themselves when they've deadlifted, so you'll be fine. And I'm sure vice versa. I'm sure there's men that have pissed themselves and women that shit themselves. It happens.
Yeah, I've always said I won't be a fully accomplished powerlifter until I pee on a platform or my nose bleeds during a deadlift. Those are the two things, and then I'll retire.
There you go.
Not beating them.
Is there any other subjects that you'd want to touch on?
No, I think we've done quite well. I think we've gone through a lot.
I think we have. I think we've covered a lot of important things, maybe things that people are a bit scared to talk about, which is good. I think we've touched on a lot of points, so I'm very, very thankful for your time.
Yeah, thanks.
Thankful for your views.
I was pretty certain.
Yeah, I was pretty certain that talking to you, I'd get a very straight answer on everything. So, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I'm just preparing myself for all the trolls.
The trolls will be aimed at me, so don't worry about it. It's fine.
Ooh, don't know.
Listen, so it's great to talk to you as always. Thank you very much for coming on, and I'm sure we'll do this again at some point.
Yeah, definitely. It's been an honour. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.